Hi, and welcome to the Expansive Journey. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Julie, and this is a live sending where I plan on talking about intuition and energetic navigation. And this is a topic that is becoming more and more clear to us when we become more conscious and when we become more aware of how things make us feel, right? And as we're going through life, before we start to feel more of our emotions, we tend to have an idea of how we should be and how things should be. And this is ideas that come from society and friends and people around us normally. And we follow through, and no matter how we feel about it, right? Meaning that we say yes when we mean no, and we say no when we might say mean yes in certain situations. So the thing is that as we become more aware, we turn away from mental perceiving the world only through a mental filter, and we start to move more into the energetics of reality. So it means that we are instead of always navigating through life with logic, we start to see that the logical or common sense, or the sort of the rigid established way of being and living doesn't really feel good, right? And then we will see that many things that we used to say yes to and participate in feels off. It feels wrong. It doesn't feel true to us. It doesn't feel authentic, right? So it's almost like we're being forced to be more authentic. And what I've noticed is that I'm moving more and more away from logic navigation and more onto energetic navigation, meaning that I follow the highest path in terms of how I feel about it. It doesn't mean that you can't use logic in situations where logic might make sense, but you should build a life and make decision based on how you feel about things. And it doesn't mean that, for example, maybe there are some situations or friends or a job or something in your life that you are used to being around or participate in, and it doesn't feel right anymore, and it doesn't really make logical sense, but it feels uneasy, it feels off. You can't necessarily put your finger on it, but it feels like it doesn't flow naturally, and it doesn't feel like you can be fully authentic around that person or around in that sort of situation. So when we start to listen to our intuition, we see that nothing is necessarily right or wrong on an absolute level, but there's definitely what's right for you and what is not right for you. And that means also certain spiritual teachers, right? And certain spiritual paradigms. And for example, you might resonate a lot with like New Age or Buddhism at some point, but maybe at another point you will resonate with something else. And when you stop identifying very heavily with your process and with your experience, then you can start to be more spontaneous and just move into what calls you, instead of constantly needing to plan and fix and manage and always try to almost manipulate and create an identity around your path. For example, imagine that you were really into like chakra healing, and at some point you didn't really resonate with chakra healing. So, and now you feel like, oh, but I've done so much chakra healing, right? And you feel like it's hard to let go of that because it's been so um, almost has become a part of your identity, right? And it can also be other things like a job, a relationship. It's very common with relationships that when we evolve, we will gravitate towards different people. And it's not necessarily that the person is wrong, or that chakra healing is wrong, or the job is wrong. It's just that it's not in alignment with you anymore. And the more you can trust this and have faith and surrender, the more you can just move into what presents itself to you in the present moment. The more you can stop planning and the kind of think that you need to know where you will be 10 steps ahead of where you are. And instead, you can just move with the flow of life and just sort of just approach everything that is in front of you right now and gravitate towards what feels good and away from what doesn't resonate. And this doesn't mean that we should not face challenges, because when we face challenges and things that are difficult to us, it actually makes us grow. It actually is very, very liberating to face things that we think is danger, or we are afraid of, or that we are that makes us that triggers us in a sense. So it's not a matter of avoiding life, but it's a matter of gravitating towards the highest path and having that as your North Star. So inside of Awaken You, I teach something called a frequency compass. And that's when you decide what kind of frequency you are aiming for, and you make choices that are aligned with that, instead of what you think you should do, what you have always done, who you think you are, and all the things that you think will eventually bring you something in the future, but makes you sacrifice your peace in the present moment. So yeah, so life, when we start to expand our consciousness, we will notice a difference when this happened to us, because we experience ourselves and life in a different way, and life become less planned because we are moving out of time, and life becomes more spontaneous. And the more we can trust and surrender to that and allow this to be, the better the better and more joyful and peaceful and fun this spiritual awakening becomes. It's almost like being a child again, right? With the things that you learn as an adult, because of course we need to participate in the world as well at some level. um, and we might also notice that discipline and to force ourselves into things gets harder and harder, especially if it's not aligned with our hearts and with what feels eventually natural to us. So if you're used to, for example, run many kilometers per day, if you did that for many years, and maybe now you feel like that doesn't really feel alignment anymore. Maybe you want to dance instead. You want to start dancing. You want to do a different kind of exercise that feels more in alignment with a higher frequency. And I personally, I love to run. So every person will feel drawn to different things, right? But it gets harder and harder to force and push ourselves through things, to be with people and to do things and to sort of spend our time and energy with what drains us and eventually don't support us, right? And support our authentic expression and feels natural. So when before we wrap up, I want to say that I think the key here is to, again, not identify too much with what you experience from moment to moment, because it will change, especially if you are on this journey. And at some point you will feel anger, but it doesn't mean that you are an angry person. At some point you will feel really drawn to yoga, but you don't have to continue doing that if it doesn't resonate with you anymore, right? And at some point maybe you will become really good friends with someone, and then you might feel that, oh, it doesn't resonate anymore. And it's not necessarily your fault or the other person's fault. It's just how the universe presents itself to you in this moment. And always your experience is valid. Everything you experience is what the universe is expressing through you or for you, right? And so every emotion, every thought, every circumstance will is perfect as it is from an absolute perspective. It's not supposed to be something that is not, because then it wouldn't be in the first place, right? So that's when we start to acknowledge and accept life as it is. That's when we experience more freedom, more flow, more spontaneity, and we start to feel more whole and integrated, because we can just, it's almost like being in a video game or watch a movie. It's just exciting. Even when things are challenging, it gets exciting because you are so in everything that is, and without the need to judge or blame or push and pull on reality. But even if that appears, is a part of the experience as well. So nothing is inherently wrong if it's a part of your experience. So always trust your intuition, and you know what is in your experience. That is in your experience, and no person, and you should not look for, no one else can validate that. It's self-validating, right? If something pisses you off, then you know that it pisses you off, right? Your reaction is a different thing though, but how you experience reality is your experience. So with that, I want to wrap up, and I want to invite you to book a call with me if you resonate with my message and want to join Awaken You. It's my 12-month program online. And you can also watch my introduction masterclass. It's completely free, and you can sign up for that in the link in the description below. And as always, like this video and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment below if you resonate with this message, or if you don't, just let me know. And yeah, until next time, much love and namaste.